The piano keys crack through the silence like thunder. Every head in the Grand Meridian Hotel ballroom snaps toward the stage. Crystal chandeliers throw fractured light across 200 faces. Tech executives, investors, old money, new money. All of them frozen mid-conversation, champagne glasses suspended in manicured hands. Isabelle Delacroix feels her knees buckle. She grips the edge of her chair, knuckles whitening against the velvet fabric. The melody crawling from that piano isn't just music. It's a ghost. It's a wound ripped open in front of everyone she spent 15 years trying to impress. The man at the piano wears a simple gray shirt, sleeves pushed up past his forearms. No tuxedo, no pretense. His fingers move across the keys with the kind of tenderness that makes Isabelle's chest tight. A Christmas tree glitters behind him, gold ornaments catching the stage lights. But nobody's looking at the decorations anymore. They're looking at him. And Isabelle can't breathe. Before we begin, drop a comment below with your country and what time it is right now where you're watching. Whether it's sunrise in Nairobi, midnight in New York, afternoon in Canada, or evening in France, I want to know. Don't just sit back. Tell me where in the world you are. Now, let's dive into the story. The melody climbs higher, each note pulling something loose inside her ribcage. She knows this song. God help her. She knows every single note. She wrote half of it herself, humming against a man's chest on a rooftop in Miami 17 years ago, when she was 23 and stupid enough to believe love could survive anything. Raul. The name hits her like a slap. Raul Ortiz wrote this song. For her. Only for her. He promised it would never leave his piano, never touch another ear. It was theirs. Sacred, secret, buried with every other broken promise he left behind when he vanished. So why is a stranger playing it in the middle of her company's Christmas gala? Isabelle's hand flies to her mouth. The woman beside her, some venture capitalist's wife, shoots her a concerned look. But Isabelle can't explain, can't speak, can't do anything but stare at this man's hands as they coax out a melody that was supposed to die with her heartbreak. The room seems to shrink. 200 people fade to shadows. The clink of glasses, the rustle of gowns, the polite laughter, all of it disappears under the weight of those piano keys. She takes one step forward, then another. Her red dress catches the light as she moves closer to the stage, drawn like something magnetic is pulling her chest toward that piano. The man hasn't looked up. His eyes stay closed, his face tight with concentration, or maybe pain. There's a scar on his left cheek, thin and silver, catching the light when he tilts his head. Isabelle stops 3 feet from the stage. Her throat closes around the question she's afraid to ask. Then a voice cuts through the room like broken glass. How do you know this song? Isabelle spins around. Trey Dunn stands 6 feet behind her, his face drained of color. Her senior vice president, her most trusted advisor, the man who's never shown emotion in the 8 years she's known him. He looks like he's seen a corpse rise from the ground. His hands are shaking. The piano falls silent. And in that terrible, stretching quiet, Isabelle realizes she's not the only one with secrets tied to this song. What does Trey know that he's never told her? Miami, 17 years ago. The rooftop smelled like salt and cheap wine. Isabelle sat cross-legged on a blanket, her bare feet tucked under Raul's thigh while he hunched over a battered keyboard, hunting for the right chord. No, higher, she said, humming a few notes. Raul's fingers found the melody. His grin split wide across his face, that impossible smile that made her forget she was broke, forget she was working 2 jobs, forget that her mother hadn't spoken to her in 3 years. There, he whispered. That's it. That's us. He pulled her close, and the city lights blurred through her tears. "Promise me something," she said against his neck. "Anything. This song stays ours. Just ours. Forever." His arms tightened around her. Forever. 3 months later, he was gone. No note, no call, no explanation. Just an empty apartment and a landlord demanding rent she couldn't pay. Isabel blinks back to the present. The Grand Meridian Ballroom feels too bright, too loud, too full of people who have no idea that her entire past just crashed through the ceiling. The pianist still sits frozen at the keys, his hands flat against the ivory, his chest rising and falling like he's run a marathon. Trey hasn't moved. His question hangs in the air. How do you know this song? But it wasn't directed at Isabel. He's staring at the pianist with an intensity that makes her stomach drop. "Trey." Her voice comes out hoarse. "What's going on?" He doesn't answer. His jaw works back and forth, grinding against words he won't release. The crowd has started whispering. Isabel catches fragments. Technical difficulty, unprogrammed performance. Who authorized this? But none of it matters. What matters is the man at the piano, who's slowly opening his eyes. Brown eyes. Deep and warm and achingly familiar. Isabel's heart slams against her ribs. Those are Raoul's eyes. The same eyes that watched her sleep on Sunday mornings. The same eyes that cried when she told him about her father's death. The same eyes that promised her forever and then disappeared. But this man is younger. Late 20s, maybe 30. The angle of his jaw is different, sharper. The scar on his cheek tells a story Raoul never had. This isn't Raoul. So who is he? The pianist's gaze finds hers across the stage lights, and something flickers in his expression. Recognition, maybe, or resignation. He knows who she is. The realization sends ice down her spine. Trey takes a step forward, his voice dropping to something dangerous. "I asked you a question. Where did you learn that melody?" The pianist stands slowly, his movements careful, controlled. He's tall, taller than Raoul ever was, and he holds himself like a man who's used to being underestimated. "I learned it," he says quietly, "from the same place you did." Trey's face goes white, and Isabel realizes she's standing in the middle of a story she never knew existed. What secret has Trey been hiding all these years? Trey Dunn built his entire career on control. Control over his emotions, control over his investments, control over every single variable that could derail his climb from nothing to the right hand of one of the most powerful women in tech. But right now, standing in this glittering ballroom with 200 witnesses, he feels that control crumbling like wet sand. The melody is still ringing in his ears. He can't make it stop. He knows this song. He's heard it exactly once before, 18 years ago in a cramped apartment in Houston, played by a man who was supposed to be dead. Raul Ortiz. The name tastes like ash in his mouth. Trey. Isabel's voice cuts through the static in his brain. You need to explain what's happening right now. He can't look at her. If he looks at her, she'll see everything, every lie, every buried truth, every decision he made to protect her from a past she never asked to escape. The pianist hasn't moved from the stage. He's watching Trey with an expression that's almost amused, like he knows exactly what kind of chaos he's unleashed and he's enjoying every second of it. This isn't coincidence. This is calculated. Who sent you? Trey demands, his voice low enough that only the three of them can hear. The younger man tilts his head. Nobody sent me. I came on my own. Impossible. The guest list was vetted. Security cleared every performer. Did they? A small smile. Or did someone make sure I got through? Trey's blood runs cold. Someone on the inside. Someone close to Isabel. someone who wanted this exact moment to happen. He thinks about the past 8 years, every late night, every crisis averted, every competitor crushed before they could become a threat. He thinks about the secrets he's kept, the calls he's made, the debts he's collected, and he wonders if all of it is about to come crash down. Trey. Isabel's hand grips his arm. Look at me. He forces himself to meet her eyes. The confusion there almost breaks him. There's more to this, he says carefully. More than I can explain here. Then explain somewhere else. Now. Before he can respond, the pianist speaks again. My name is Javier Ortiz. The world tilts. Trey watches Isabel's face change, confusion to shock, to something that looks like physical pain. And he knows that everything is about to unravel. What will Javier reveal about Trey's past? Javier Ortiz. The name echoes through the ballroom like a gunshot. Several guests gasp. Others lean forward, sensing drama worth remembering. The string quartet in the corner has stopped playing entirely, their bows frozen mid-air. Isabel feels like she's watching herself from outside her body. Ortiz. Raul's last name. The name she almost took. The name she wrote in her journal 1,000 times like a lovesick teenager, dreaming of a future that never came. That's not possible, she breathes. Javier steps down from the stage, his movements slow and deliberate. The crowd parts for him, without being asked, as if they can sense the weight of whatever's about to happen. My father was Raul Ortiz, he says, stopping 5 feet from Isabel. He died 12 years ago in a fishing accident off the coast of Honduras. But before he died, he told me about you. The floor seems to sway beneath her heels. Raul is dead. The man she loved, the man she hated, the man she searched for in every crowded room for years after he left. Dead. Gone. Unreachable. And he had a son. He talked about Miami, Javier continues, his voice steady but soft. About a woman with fire in her eyes and a laugh that made him believe in God. He said he wrote a song for her once. Only one song. And he made me memorize it before he died. Isabel's throat burns with tears she refuses to shed. Why? The word scrapes out of her. Why would he do that? Because he wanted me to find you, to tell you the truth about why he left. The crowd has gone completely silent. Even the waiters have stopped moving. Trays balanced forgotten on their palms. Trey shifts beside her. She can feel the tension radiating off him, can sense that he wants to interrupt, to redirect, to control this situation the way he controls everything else. But for once, she doesn't care what Trey wants. What truth? She asks. Javier's eyes flicker to Trey for just a moment. Barely a glance, but loaded with meaning. My father didn't leave you, Ms. Delacroix. He was forced out, threatened, told that if he didn't disappear, something terrible would happen to the woman he loved. Isabel's heart stops. Threatened by who? Javier's jaw tightens. That's what I came here to find out. The words land like stones in still water, ripples spreading outward through the ballroom. Isabel hears whispers starting, phones being pulled from pockets, the hungry buzz of scandal taking shape. But she can't focus on any of it. Raul didn't abandon her. Someone made him leave. She turns slowly toward Trey, whose face has become an unreadable mask. Trey, she says quietly, is there something you need to tell me? He doesn't answer, and in his silence, she hears everything. What really happened 17 years ago, and who was responsible? The memories come flooding back, whether Isabel wants them or not. She's 23 again, standing in Raul's empty apartment with a spare key in her hand, and her whole world collapsing. The closet doors hang open, Nothing inside but wire hangers swaying in the draft from the window he left cracked. His keyboard is gone. His clothes are gone. The blanket they used to spread on the rooftop is gone. All that's left is the smell of his cologne, fading into the walls like smoke. She remembers sinking to the floor, remembers pressing her face into the carpet where they used to lie together and make plans that felt like promises. Remembers the way her chest caved in, like someone had reached through her ribs and simply removed her heart. For months afterward, she couldn't listen to music, any music. The sound of a piano made her physically ill. She threw herself into work instead, built something from nothing, climbed and clawed and sacrificed until the hurt became fuel and the fuel became fortune. And through all of it, through the late nights and the victories and the magazine covers, she told herself the same story. Raul left because he didn't love her enough to stay. Now Javier stands before her, telling her that story was a lie. Isabel looks at him, really looks, and sees the echoes of the man who shattered her. The curve of his mouth, the way his hands rest at his sides, loose and ready, the quiet intensity behind his eyes. My father never stopped thinking about you, Javier says softly. He kept a photograph in his wallet until the day he died. You were smiling in it, standing on some rooftop with the sun behind your head. Her breath catches. She remembers that photograph. Raul took it on their 3-month anniversary just before he made her close her eyes and played their song for the first time. He used to talk about coming back, Javier continues. Every year he'd say this was the year he'd find a way. But something always stopped him. Some fear he wouldn't explain. Isabel presses her hand to her stomach, trying to hold herself together. What was he afraid of? I don't know. He'd get this look in his eyes, like he was watching something terrible happen inside his head. And then he'd change the subject. The only thing he ever told me was that leaving you was the hardest thing he ever did, and the most necessary. The word necessary hits her like a blade. Necessary. Like abandoning her was some kind of sacrifice. Like disappearing without a word was noble instead of cruel. She wants to be angry. Part of her is angry, furious even, at this dead man who left her drowning and never threw back a rope. But another part of her, the part she spent 15 years trying to bury, feels something else entirely. Relief. He loved her. He never stopped loving her. And whatever happened, whatever drove him away, it wasn't because she wasn't enough. Isabel. Trey's voice is strained, urgent. We need to go. Now. This isn't the place for stop. The command comes out harder than she intended. Trey actually flinches. She turns to face him fully, and for the first time since she met him, she doesn't see her trusted advisor. She sees a stranger with too many secrets. You knew, she says. It's not a question. Trey's silence is its own confession. You knew something about Raul leaving. All these years, you sat in my office, helped me build this company, watched me struggle, and you knew. His throat moves as he swallows. Isabel, it's complicated. Then uncomplicate it. But before Trey can answer, Javier steps between them, his expression sharp. He can't tell you here. There are people watching who shouldn't hear what he has to say. His voice drops to barely a whisper, including some who might be dangerous. A chill runs down Isabel's spine. She looks around the ballroom, at the glittering chandeliers, the expensive gowns, the faces of people she's known for years. Suddenly, none of them look familiar. Any of them could be hiding something. Any of them could be connected to whatever web she's just stumbled into. Fine, she says, squaring her shoulders. Then we leave. Right now. all three of us. She grabs Trey's arm with one hand and gestures for Javier to follow with the other. The crowd parts again as they move toward the exit, whispers swelling in their wake. As they reach the doors, Isabel feels eyes on her back, hot and heavy, like a weight pressing between her shoulder blades. She doesn't turn around, but the feeling doesn't go away. What truths will emerge once they're finally alone? And can Isabel handle what she learns? You have exactly 60 seconds to start talking. Isabel slams the door of the hotel's private conference room, cutting off the noise of confused guests still buzzing in the hallway. The lock clicks into place. The silence that follows is suffocating. Trey stands with his back against the wall, his tie loosened, his carefully constructed composure cracking at the edges. Javier positions himself near the window, arms crossed, watching both of them like a man who's waited years for this exact moment. The clock's running, Trey. Isabel's voice is ice. He closes his eyes, takes a breath. When he opens them again, something has shifted, the mask finally slipping away. I was 24 years old, he begins, fresh out of business school, broke, desperate, and a man named Victor Ashford offered me an opportunity. Isabel's stomach drops. Victor Ashford. The name hits her like cold water. He was one of her earliest investors, a quiet, calculating man who disappeared from her, bored 5 years ago under circumstances no one ever explained. Victor had a daughter, Trey continues. Camille. She was obsessed with Raul Ortiz. Had been for years, ever since they met at some music festival in Austin. But Raul didn't want her. He wanted you. The pieces start clicking together, and Isabel doesn't like the picture they're forming. Victor came to me with a deal. Make Raul disappear, scare him off, threaten him, whatever it took, and I'd get a 6-figure consulting contract plus introductions to every major player in tech. Trey's voice cracks. I was nobody, Isabel. I had nothing, and he was offering me everything. So you destroyed my life for a paycheck. I didn't know it would destroy you. I thought. He stops, shaking his head. I told myself you'd move on, that Raul was just some broke musician who'd never amount to anything, that I was doing you a favor. Javier steps forward, his jaw tight. You told my father you'd have her killed. The words land like a bomb. Isabel's hand flies to her chest. What? I was bluffing, Trey says quickly. Victor wanted results, and I needed something that would actually make Raul leave. So I told him that if he ever contacted you again, Victor's people would... He can't finish the sentence. Would hurt me, Isabel whispers. You made him believe loving me would get me killed? Trey's silence is all the confirmation she needs. 17 years of grief. 17 years of wondering what was wrong with her, why she wasn't enough, why the one person who made her feel whole had thrown her away like garbage. And it was all a lie, manufactured by a man she trusted with her company, her secrets, her life. Get out. Isabel, please. I said get out. Trey moves toward the door, his hand trembling on the handle. He pauses, turning back one last time. There's more, he says quietly. Victor didn't just want Raul gone. He wanted something else, something I never understood until tonight. His eyes flick to Javier. Why do you think his son is really here? The door closes behind him, and Isabel realizes the nightmare is far from over. What is Javier hiding, and what did Victor Ashford truly want? He's trying to turn you against me. Javier's voice is steady, but his hands are not. Isabel watches him pace the length of the conference room, his footsteps heavy on the carpet. Is he wrong to try? she asks. Javier stops, faces her. The Christmas lights from the ballroom bleed through the frosted glass doors, casting strange shadows across his features. I didn't come here to hurt you, Ms. Delacroix. Then why did you come? The truth this time. He reaches into his jacket pocket and pulls out an envelope, yellowed with age, the edges soft from handling. He holds it out to her like an offering or a confession. My father gave me this before he died. Told me to deliver it to you when the time was right. Isabel takes the envelope with trembling fingers. Her name is written across the front in handwriting she'd recognize anywhere. Those same looping letters that used to sign love notes left on her pillow. I was supposed to find you years ago, Javier continues. But I was scared. I didn't know what kind of person you'd become, whether you'd even want to hear from anyone connected to him. She runs her thumb across the seal, afraid to open it and afraid not to. So, what changed? Victor Ashford died 3 months ago. Isabel's head snaps up. His estate went to auction. Private documents, business records, things that were supposed to stay buried forever. Javier's voice tightens, including files that prove he didn't just threaten my father. He destroyed him, blacklisted him from every music venue on the East Coast, made sure he couldn't work, couldn't eat, couldn't survive unless he ran. The weight of it presses down on Isabel's chest. Your father spent 12 years in hiding because of what Victor did. Hiding, struggling, dying, slowly in a country where nobody knew his name. Javier's eyes glisten. He worked fishing boats to feed us, got sick from the conditions, and the whole time he kept your photograph in his wallet and played your song when he thought I was asleep. Isabel presses the envelope against her heart. Why would Victor go to such lengths? Why did he care so much about keeping Raul away from me? Javier's expression hardens. Because it was never about Camille. That was just the excuse. He steps closer, lowering his voice. Victor Ashford was building an empire. He needed investors, partners, people he could control. And you, Isabel, even back then, you were going to be somebody. He saw it before anyone else did. The realization hits her like a train. He wanted to control me. He wanted to own you. But as long as Raul was in your life, you had something he couldn't touch. Someone who loved you without wanting anything in return. Javier's jaw tightens. So he took that away. And then he positioned Trey to become your right hand, your trusted advisor, your window into every decision you'd ever make. The room tilts. All these years she thought she'd built her empire on her own strength, her own sacrifice, her own brilliance. But Victor Ashford had been pulling strings she never even knew existed. The envelope, Javier says softly. My father wanted you to have it no matter what. But I think you should read it alone. Isabel looks down at the yellowed paper, her past and present colliding in her hands. One more question, she says. Why tonight? Why the gala? Why play that song in front of everyone? Javier's smile is sad, knowing. Because I needed to see who would react, who would recognize a melody that was supposed to be secret. He glances toward the door where Trey disappeared. And now I know exactly who's been lying to you. The envelope burns against her palm. What did Raul write? And will his final words change everything? The letters spill across the conference table like fallen leaves. Isabel's hands shake as she unfolds page after page, some typed, some handwritten, some stained with what might be tears or rain or time itself. Raul wrote to her. For years, he wrote to her. These were returned, she breathes, scanning the envelopes. Every single one. The addresses are all places she lived. Her first apartment after business school, the condo she bought when her startup got funding, even the penthouse she moved into 3 years ago. Someone intercepted every letter, sent them back, made sure she never knew Raul was trying to reach her. Look at the return addresses, Javier says quietly. She does. Her blood runs cold. Every rejected envelope was processed through a P.O. box registered to Delacroix Industries, her own company, the mailroom she trusted to handle her correspondence. Someone inside her organization had been blocking Raul's letters for over a decade. Trey, she whispers. But even as she says it, as something doesn't fit. Trey had the motive, but did he have the access? The patience? The obsessive attention to detail required to track her every address change and intercept personal mail for years? She shuffles through the documents Javier brought. Victor Ashford's private files, recovered from the estate auction. Contracts, correspondence, photographs. And then she finds it. A photograph of Victor Ashford shaking hands with a younger man outside a Houston office building. The date stamped on the back is 18 years ago. The man beside Victor isn't Trey. It's someone else. Someone she recognizes. That's impossible, she hears herself say. Who is it? Javier leans over her shoulder. Isabel can't speak. Her finger traces the face in the photograph, the confident smile, the sharp suit, the hungry eyes of a man with everything to prove. Marcus Webb, her chief operating officer, the man who helped her scale Delacroix Industries from a scrappy startup to a global powerhouse, the man who insisted on personally overseeing communications and security, the man who recommended Trey for his position in the first place. Marcus has been with me for 14 years, she says numbly. He was there before Trey, before the IPO, before everything. Javier's face darkens. Then he's been Victor's man from the beginning. The puzzle pieces rearrange themselves in Isabel's mind, forming a picture far uglier than she imagined. Trey was the distraction, the obvious villain, the one who'd crack under pressure and confess to a crime that was only part of the story. Marcus was the real operative, the one who stayed silent, stayed loyal, stayed invisible while controlling everything that mattered. Her phone buzzes on the table. A text from an unknown number. Meet me in the parking garage, level B2. Come alone, or the truth dies with me. M. Isabel stares at the screen. Marcus knows she's found him out, and he wants to talk. Don't go, Javier says immediately. It could be a trap. But Isabel is already standing, her jaw set with the kind of determination that built a billion-dollar company from nothing. If Marcus has answers, I'm getting them. Then I'm coming with you. No. She holds up her hand. If something happens to me, you're the only one who knows the truth. The only one who can expose all of it. She moves toward the door, pausing with her hand on the frame. If I'm not back in 20 minutes, call the police and make sure that story hits every news outlet in the country. The door swings shut behind her, and Javier is left alone with the terrible weight of waiting. What will Isabel find in the parking garage? And will she make it back alive? The parking garage smells like concrete and exhaust. Isabel's heels echo against the floor as she descends the ramp toward level B2. The fluorescent lights flicker overhead, casting everything in a sickly yellow glow. She sees him before he sees her. Marcus Webb leans against a black sedan, his arms crossed, his face hidden in shadow. He's still wearing his gala tuxedo, but the bow tie hangs loose around his neck. And there's something wild in his posture. Something she's never seen in 14 years of working beside him. You came alone, he says. Smart. You wanted to talk, so talk. Marcus laughs, a hollow, bitter sound that bounces off the concrete walls. 14 years, Isabel. 14 years I've watched you climb, helped you climb, and you never once suspected. Suspected what? That you were Victor Ashford's puppet? His smile fades. I was never his puppet. I was his partner. The word hits her like a physical blow. Victor saw your potential before anyone else, Marcus continues. He knew you'd be worth billions someday, worth controlling. So we made a plan. Remove the distractions, install the right people, guide you toward decisions that benefited all of us. You mean decisions that benefited you? I mean decisions that kept you alive. His voice sharpens. You have no idea what kind of people Victor protected you from. Competitors who wanted you destroyed, investors who would have bled you dry. I made sure none of them ever got close. By manipulating my entire life? By managing it. There's a difference. Isabel takes a step closer, her fists clenched at her sides. You stole letters from a man who loved me. You let me believe I was abandoned. You built your career on my pain. Marcus pushes off from the car, closing the distance between them. Raul Ortiz was a liability, a distraction. He would have held you back, kept you small, turned you into some musician's wife instead of the woman you became. His eyes bore into hers. I made you, Isabel. Everything you are exists because of choices I made. No. The word comes out stronger than she expected. I made myself. I worked 18-hour days while you played politics. I closed deals while you intercepted my mail. I built an empire while you hid behind Victor, Ashford's money. She straightens to her full height. You didn't make me. You just tried to cage me. Something dangerous flashes across Marcus's face. You think you're free now? You think exposing me changes anything? He pulls a phone from his pocket. I have records of every questionable decision you've ever made, every corner cut, every favor traded. One call and your reputation is finished. Then make the call. Marcus freezes. Make it, Isabel repeats, her voice steady as stone. Because I'd rather lose everything than spend another day being controlled by someone who thinks they own me. The garage falls silent. For a long moment, nobody moves. Then Marcus's shoulders slump. The phone slips from his fingers, clattering against the concrete. Victor promised me the world, he whispers. But all I got was this, watching you succeed while I stayed in the shadows. Footsteps echo from the ramp above them. Javier appears first, followed by 2 uniformed police officers. I gave you 20 minutes, Javier says to Isabel. You only needed 10. Marcus doesn't resist as the officers approach. His face has gone blank, empty, like a man who's finally reached the end of a road he's been walking for decades. As they lead him away, he turns back one last time. You'll never know the whole truth, Isabel. Victor had other partners, other plans. I was just one piece of a much larger game. The words hang in the air long after he's gone. And Isabel realizes that this ending is really just another beginning. Who else is hiding in the shadows? And how deep does this conspiracy truly go? Dawn breaks over the city like a promise. Isabel stands on the rooftop of the Grand Meridian Hotel, watching the sun paint the skyline in shades of gold and rose. The gala ended hours ago, but she hasn't slept, hasn't even tried. The envelope from Raul, his final letter, rests open in her hands. She's read it 17 times now, memorized every word. My dearest Isabel, it begins. If you're reading this, then Javier found you. And if he found you, then I'm already gone. But I need you to know the truth. Not about why I left, but about why I never stopped loving you. The letter tells her everything. The threats, the fear, the impossible choice between staying and watching her get hurt or leaving and watching himself slowly die. Raul chose to die. For her. I used to imagine what your life would become, he wrote. I imagined you running companies, changing the world, becoming everything I knew you could be. And even though I couldn't be there, even though I had to love you from a distance, I was so proud. Every single day, I was proud. Tears stream down Isabel's face, but she doesn't wipe them away. Javier has your song now, the letter continues. Our song. I taught him to play it so that someday, when the moment was right, he could bring it back to you. So you'd know that love doesn't die just because the people who feel it have to say goodbye. Footsteps sound behind her. Javier steps onto the rooftop, 2 cups of coffee in his hands. He offers one to her without speaking. They stand in silence, watching the sun climb higher. What happens now? Javier finally asks. Isabel considers the question. Trey is cooperating with investigators, trading information for a lighter sentence. Marcus is in custody, his threats emptied of power. Victor Ashford is dead, his empire crumbling along with his secrets. But somewhere out there, other players remain hidden. Other pieces of a puzzle she's only begun to understand. Now, she says slowly, I stopped letting other people write my story. She turns to face Javier fully. This man who carries his father's eyes, his father's music, his father's impossible hope. Your father wanted me to have something more than the truth, she says. He wanted me to have a future, a real one, free from all the cages people tried to build around me. Javier nods slowly. He said you were the strongest person he ever knew, that nothing could stop you once you decided to move forward. He was right. Isabel looks out at the city, her city, and feels something shift inside her chest. The grief is still there. Probably always will be. But beneath it, for the first time in 17 years, there's something else. Freedom. I'm going to find them, she says quietly. Every partner Victor had, every shadow he cast, and I'm going to burn it all down. Javier raises his coffee cup. Then you won't be doing it alone. As the sun breaks fully over the horizon, Isabel allows herself one small smile. The game has changed. The players have been exposed, and for the first time in her life, she's the one calling the shots. But as she turns to leave the rooftop, her phone buzzes. A message from an unknown number. No name, no signature. Just 7 words. You're not the only one with secrets. Isabel stares at the screen. The shadows aren't finished with her yet. And somewhere in the city below, a new game is already beginning. If this story touched your heart, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss what happens next. We share stories that inspire, stories that challenge, and stories that remind us what it means to be human. Drop a comment below. Tell me what you think Isabel should do next. Your voice matters here. Share this video with someone who needs to believe that the truth always finds its way into the light. Until next time, stay blessed, stay curious, and keep believing in the power of your own story.